think you should.
Welcome to this week's episode of Whoscussion. We're your hosts, ThatRandomGuy, and the essentially pleasing Harriet Skelly.
Yes.
I'm still working on those t-shirts. For part 8, we're going to be covering the first 2 stories of the Key to Time arc, which is pretty much the first arc Doctor Who ever really has, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, the Master sort of was, when he was like the whole season of the Master for season 9.
Hey, there was that time that that the Daleks were chasing the first Doctor.
Oh, right. Yeah, I suppose, yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. With Master Plan.
Yeah. It was
Mission
kind...
79.
I mean, it wasn't technically a whole story by itself, but...
But yeah, this is the first time we get an arc, and we won't really get anything like this until season 23. So this is pretty much it, and we're on season 17. We're going to be doing the Rebus operation and the pirate planet.
Yes.
It's every bit as amazing as you think it would be, a pirate planet. And then we've got the Silver Turk for part B, which is for part of the season 26B run with Mary Shelley and the 8th Doctor, and we'll be finishing it up with the King of the Dead, a 5th Doctor short trip. So the Rebus operation, I want to be kicking it off here. The Doctor is making sure that K9 Mark II is all up and running. He's having a pretty good time with the K9 Mark II. And then the TARDIS is frozen in space-time. They're in a nowhere and a no-when. The Doctor walks outside, and there is the White Guardian and a made-up world where it's an exotic paradise beach location.
And he totally looks like the Colonel from Kentucky Fried Chicken.
He totally does look like Colonel Sanders. It's pretty great. I love that he's drinking like that, like what appears to be a cocktail. He's having a good time, and it's great because like the Doctor, he's like hello Doctor. He's just like, can you just ask another Time Lord, please? Like, I know you're a god, but I want to go do something else.
I don't want to deal with this.
And the White Guardian's like, yeah, no. The High Council pretty much chose you, so I'm gonna give you this, and I'm gonna give you an assistant. And I love the delivery of the "I don't want an assistant" line, because he's not the Doctor anymore. He's Tom Baker. Let's see. Yeah,
he's like, oh no.
He's like, no, I don't want an assistant. And the White Guardian's is like, too late. She's already in the TARDIS. And he's like, well, what happens if I refuse? And then the White Guardian's like, well, you can refuse. And the way he says it is like, you actually can't.
Well, I think the best thing about it is when he's like, what? Okay, what will happen if I refuse? He's like, nothing will happen. Absolutely nothing. Forever. Yeah. It's like, oh.
He's like, you have to do it, or you're here for the rest of your lives. And it's just like, oh, that's great. I could imagine him. I could imagine him not doing it until he's 10. Like, Tennant would be the one who would give in my opinion. He's like, I'm gonna do it. So he ends up not really accepting the job, being forced into it, and he jumps into the TARDIS and he's like, cool, we'll go do our mission. And then we have Romana de Lumvalunda. The Doctor immediately says it's hard to pronounce. Sorry, it's really not, but that's the Doctor for you. He's he's not really into following the rules, as it were. So he goes, "Can I call you Romana?" And she's like, "No." She's like, "No, I don't like Romana. What about Bob? Bob's okay."
It was Fred.
Oh, Fred, sorry. Fred's okay. All right, come on, Romana.
Yeah,
and
it was great.
They land amidst a nefarious plot, which you're pretty much showing straight away that there's these 2 crooks that are playing one hell of a long game, and they're trying to sell a planet. Now here's the thing, right? None of the inhabitants know about this.
Yep.
couldn't the buyer just ask someone locally and be like, is this planet for sale?
Well, that's the thing, is that he's clearly selling it. He's selling it as part of it being owned by the empire, but obviously the inhabitants, because they're a class 1, class 3, they're a civilization that has not yet developed even the telescope.
Yeah. They haven't developed so much. Like, they're really, really archaic.
They're like proper archaic, that sort of deal. So the idea is that because they're not basically the sort of very Douglas Adams thing, which is not coming till next episode, where they have basically been sold off without their knowing, because they don't have the ability to go to their local council on Alpha Centauri and look at the plans for the space highway, that sort of stuff. Exactly. So they that's why they wouldn't have known, and that's basically what he says to them. They're like, they're primitives. They're not going to know about this anyway.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh yes, and just tell people you're from the north. And I love how they just get away with it. Like, we're from the north, and they're like, oh, okay.
Loads of planets have a north.
Yeah, loads of planets have a north, and I'm glad you put up Alpha Centauri, because whenever I get to speak like this, it fills me with joy. The Federation will not stand for this. So I love Alpha Centauri. I miss him so much. I hope he's in some Big Finish. That would be great. Oh, the Federation. But yes, so the Federation has turned against the buyer. Because he seems to have been kind of a criminal, a war criminal.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit of a war criminal, and he wants to take his throne by force. He is looking to buy up a mineral called Jethric?
Jericho?
No, Jethric, I think it's called.
It's something really weird and actually no meaning to anything, really.
Anyway, they want to buy an expensive mineral. Here it is, Jethric. So one of our earlier statements was accurate. I won't know that until we're editing. But anyway, Jethric is they're looking for that. It's a very powerful fuel source and rare, but a small amount of it can power fleets.
Apparently.
So that's some next level energy potential.
Well, it sounds like it's dark matter, but or some form of antimatter material, because that's the only thing that would contain enough power without, being completely unstable. I mean, even then, the antimatter is completely unstable, but for it to contain enough power as they say it is, it should be far more unstable than being able to be put in a glass jar.
Yes, very much so. So, Doctor Who's very fairy tale science. So
yes, hell yeah, Doctor.
Yeah. And considering we're in a story where gods are literally calling the shots at the moment, I just love how the White Guardian would have just rocked up to Gallifrey and been like, "Hey, I want to hire a Time Lord." And the Time Lord's been like, the Doctor." I was like,
please, no one else, just the Doctor.
Just the Doctor, please.
Yes, that's exactly.
I really would love to see that moment, because even Barusa would be like, "Oh dear God, dear Guardians, what are you doing here?" So the Doctor ends up getting mixed up with these criminals, and I love it because he just sort of rolls with it, and he's really on the criminal side for some reason. It's so bizarre because they're kind of morally wrong, but not as morally wrong as war criminals. So that's basically it. Really, that's definitely a lot better. I love how successful the older gentleman is. How the fact that he sold Sydney to somebody. Yeah,
that's great. That's actually great. He's a fantastic con man. Fantastic.
I love the actor as well. The casting choices for this are all perfect. Everybody gives it 110% in this performance.
They are. In fact, some of them do it way too much.
Especially what was his name? Graff.
Yes.
The leader of the war criminals. He's all like, You are my last soldier. That scene is so perfect. But anyway, the Doctor.
That is great. It's actually fantastic. Just watch it for him. He sells it so well to being the crazy prince. It's so good.
I love his overt patriotism as well. He's so patriotic. It's so beautiful because like there's such a beautiful comedy to overt patriotism. It's like its own form of expressive visual comedy, and I love every millisecond that he's on screen. He just captures every single moment. But the Doctor ends up trying to help them because he needs to get the Jethric because it's actually a part of the key to time. As the key to time pieces are able to turn themselves into any object, no matter what size it is, or what happens to be made out of the key to time hides around there.
There's one particular thing that I find funny about the whole key to time thing recently, is literally the last episode, the season beforehand, he was looking for the Great Key,
Yes, he was.
Which was also part of some key to time, effectively.
Well, you know, there's lots of keys to time. You know,
there's a lot of keys to time.
There's a lot of keys to time, and I think the Guardians, they probably have the best key of them all. Probably the skeleton key of time.
Yes.
So the Doctor ends up helping them, and they're pretty close to doing it, but they do get caught in the act. The Doctor tries to say that the salesman, the con man, has nothing to do with them. Graf doesn't believe them and arrests them all. And then he does the classic villain thing. He leaves them alone in a room with one guard.
Yep.
So I love that. I love whenever that happens because it literally makes no sense whatsoever.
It really doesn't.
Because it's even in Blake 7, which was a series that started around about the time just before this season began of Doctor Who. And it's such an amazing trope. It's how Bond gets out of heaps of his situations in the original films, is leave him guarded by just one person. I think mine need to leave one person.
And then don't watch him. Put him in a room where he's gonna get killed by some really slow moving process.
Exactly.
You know that very thing that Dr. Evil totally does.
Why don't we just shoot him in the head?
Why don't we just shoot him? Yes, that's it.
It's so perfect. Just the beauty of it is so great because they play it for laughs, and the whole this episode is great because it marries seriousness and comedy perfectly in a way I don't think Doctor Who's ever done before. I don't think we've come across an episode where that's happened. I think,
not like this.
Yeah, I think there's only been snippets of moments, especially with the second Doctor and that time the first Doctor killed a foreman. Which is funny because Susan Foreman. But hey. So the Doctor and I love how the Doctor's stuck in a situation. He's like, they're like, how do we get out, Doctor? And he just sits down and has a conversation about all the crimes that the con man's done. And Romana's getting really testy about it. And the Doctor's like, don't worry about it. Because he's called for K9, which is fully a killing machine. Yeah. K9 is the best version of the sonic screwdriver. Because he fixes all the situations in such a way better fashion than the sonic screwdriver does.
And straight up kills people all the time.
All the time. And the Doctor's like, it was funny because the Doctor is like, you can't kill people. But K9, there's even scenes where K9 dematerializes people from existence.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Is it because he's not organic?
I guess. He's just a tool, so he can totally just kill people whenever you feel like.
He's a bit like a soldier, you might say.
No. Not at all.
Not at all like a soldier, 12th Doctor. But anyway, so the Doctor and K9, they end up trying to find a way to get to the Jethric because the second con man, the younger con man, who is so beautiful, I love him almost as much as I love Graf, and he has a proper character arc. He goes from being this sort of doddery villain to the sympathetic character, and how many episodes is this? There's only 4 episodes, right? So he does it in a 4-episode arc, and he has a full evolution as a person, and he goes straight by the end of it.
Yeah.
What? It's so good, and he meets this character called Binro, who is pretty much this planet's version of Copernicus.
Yeah, he is this planet's Copernicus.
Yeah, he's this planet's Copernicus.
Which is really odd considering they hadn't invented the telescope.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
it's
I mean,
really
they hadn't invented it when Copernicus was around.
no, they had not telescopes, but they had magnifying lenses, right?
I'm not entirely sure. Hang on. The first magnifying glass. Let's have a look.
No,
here.
they absolutely did. Because he wasn't actually an astronomer. He wasn't he wasn't just some random guy.
Oh, excellent. What's on here? Huh. I can't find any dates. Interesting.
No, he absolutely would have had a telescope. At least he would have had measuring equipment, such as a astrolabe or something like that, which would have allowed him to measure it properly. But these people are supposed to be so primitive that they don't have any form of technology like that.
Yeah, they don't really have anything past the sword.
Yeah, so it kind of seems like he was able to figure out the system of planets just by sight.
And by
So-
just doing some calculations in his head by the looks of things.
Yeah,
He was like,
which
yeah.
I guess is plausible actually, really, when you think about it.
Because
I mean,
didn't the Sumerians figure it out the same way though? They
Yeah,
did it
well,
through
yeah.
just mathematician instead of like using tools.
Well, there was an Egyptian who definitely found out about the curvature of the Earth well before anybody else, simply by measuring how long the shadows were at different times of the day. So there's that. But yeah, considering they didn't spend very long going, they didn't spend much time outside, at least during the winter. Which is also another interesting thing about their planet, is that their planet is probably Westeros.
Yeah, it's very similar to the planet from A Song of Ice and Fire,
where it's actually
which would make the North Bravos, I guess.
yeah. Well, the north
Maybe.
is the place where the White Walkers come from. But anyway,
Maybe,
the-
yeah,
well,
yeah, exactly. They
that's
have
why
the
they
long
feared
summers.
so much. Yeah, because they have extremely long summers, because they have an elliptical orbit. So they get the way that we have our summers in on planet Earth is we tilt in our curvature. We do still have an oval shaped orbit, as every planet does, but it's not nearly as elliptical as this planet, where they get so close to the sun and so far away from the sun at different times of the year that they
Yeah, because it's made apparent that you could go your whole lifetime without seeing summer.
Yeah, because it was like 37-ish years, they said. Yeah, that they're without the sun every time, which is really an interesting idea. Well, it's not without the sun, anyways. It's just being further away. So they had like this this ice god and sun god feel, which is a real interesting idea as well, and obviously long before the Song of Ice and Fire had ever been thought up. But it's still an interesting concept, is the idea of a planet that has this sort of orbit and stuff. Of course, in the Song of Ice and Fire, it's supposed to be magic and actual gods, not actual science. So that's fair enough. But the interesting idea that a planet does that is an option in all cases. That is a possibility for planets to exist like that, to have that elliptical orbit and have years of summer. Well, Earth years of summer. Not years for the planet, of course, because it would actually, have to go around the sun a couple of times.
Yeah.
Have to go around the sun once for it to be a year on that planet. So,
which is a good point you bring up, because in the story they actually have a conversation that's about 2 or 3 minutes long about how every planet has a different measurement for years.
Yeah.
And I quite liked that little detail, because a lot of sci-fi that I remember from my childhood never really addressed that. They just reference years.
They'd always just say
like,
years.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, but years from like what point of view? And it was really good to hear in this episode outright that, hey, look, this is this specific years. Because I believe this was written by Robert Holmes, was it not? Yes, it was.
Yes.
And I mean, like, so Robert Holmes writes some of the best Doctor Who. I mean, like, his run with Patrick Troughton is perfect. And then he follows it up with some John Pertwee. I mean, come on, Robert Holmes, take me home. All right, take me home. The individual who plays Binro, Timothy Bateson, just wow, and like I felt for that character the whole time he was on screen, and when he gets killed off, and I really love that he doesn't get to say what he wants to say. Like, because I hate it, and that happens a lot. Even now, that still happens. Characters get to finish what they want to say before they die.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, we can get rid of that trope now, guys. And I love this because Binro, he's like, you said people will say I was right. And then he doesn't even get to hear the retort. And I love how, like, it's this real good punch to the stomach. And straight away, the older conman's like, pretty good bloke, what I made of him anyway. And it's like, he like just ruins it, like the needles veering off a record, like a complete tonal shift. And it's because the older character, what's his name, Garen, was it?
I think something like that.
I think it was Garen. Yeah, it was Garen. Oh man, I loved him. Like the guy who played Garen, he just oozed off the screen. Yes. But it's because he didn't have the same experience as Unstoff had, so he doesn't really grow, Garen. He just becomes more dastardly, to be honest. But Unstoff does grow, and he feels like he wants to move away from it. But I mean, at the end, they leave it really ambiguous. Will Unstoff stick to his guns and move away from being a con man, or will he join Garen in yet another escapade?
I really want to see a spin-off with these guys.
Yes.
Yeah, because Big Finish doing that would be hilarious.
Yes.
Not even, well, of course, Big Finish, but hey, I mean, they absolutely can, but, I'd also love to see it actually happen, like, for reals, but, of course, I'm sure these actors would probably not want to come back and do that. At this point in their lives, they'll probably be like, no? Come on.
No. We've had a good time.
But having this play out, or at least hearing about them somewhere later down the line would be really interesting as well.
I would love that. That would be perfect.
Just knowing that they've done some more dastardly deeds, that would be great.
And maybe the 10th Doctor Volume 2, he could have like an offhand comment about Garon's escapades and stealing a specific jewel or something, like just something just real sort of dastardly but like charming at the same time. That'd be really great, like the great heist of the wedding ring or something.
Or just like
fitting of the character.
Yeah, or just something like the Doctor showing up after a con that he'd pulled, and then like not seeing him, not being on screen with him at all, but like people talking about how like this whole nation just got like conned by somebody, and then at the end they're like, so what was the name of the guy that conned you all? And it's like Garen, and he'd be like,
Garen. But yes, the story pretty much culminates with this lady who's confirmed psychic, the Seeker. She's like a really high level telepath. She is used to hunt down the Doctor and co. They have this like Indiana Jones-esque two episodes underneath the catacombs. It's so great. Like, and I love when Graf, he kills one of the guards, and then the elite guard of this planet is like, "You're not from the north." Like, that's your reply. Like,
yep. That's great. I just love how they got away with just saying they're from the north, even though they clearly look like they're wearing all sorts of like fancy jewels, and they look like they're like, even some of them actually look like warriors. They actually do. They're wearing chest plates and stuff, so clearly they look like they're a military sort of deal, and they haven't seen anyone else from the north before. Like, surely. And the fact that like when Garen first sees the Doctor and Romana, he like tries to like act as though he's not, he's just one of the other people within the town, and the Doctor picks up on it by being like, that was like a southern accent from Earth. Why is he speaking like that?
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing. It is actually fantastic.
And then Romana's like, there can't be any Earth aliens out here.
Yeah.
She's all like, Earth's primitive. And the Doctor's like, you need to shut your mouth. Like, the Earth's so primitive.
That is one of the great things about Romana, is that she's like constantly just being so like that. Like, they're primitives.
Yeah.
And the dog's like, I know, but shut up.
Yeah. It's so great because like she's so snooty as well. I actually love Romana though to bits. Like I was instantly in love with her because like right at the beginning when she's introduced and she goes, I passed my major. And then the doctor's like, am I supposed to be surprised? She goes like, well, at least I didn't struggle through with 70% on my second attempt. And it's like, that's classified information. And he's like, tell her, K9. And he's like, negative. Like, oh. Man, you need to have my back. And K9 has like instantly has Romana's back. Like, I love that. Like, there's no reason for him. He's just been built. But he already has Romana's back. It's so
it's
great.
not that. It's just that he doesn't he's not going to lie for the doctor.
And
he's like, I'm a robot master. I don't give a shit.
He's like, yeah, I really don't care. So whatever. But Graf has this sort of breakdown because like he's failing left, right, and center, and the psychic lady said we're all gonna die, and he's like, whatever, you're wrong, and then everybody starts dying, and so he kills the psychic, even though she's the one person that could possibly get him out of there safely. He murders her. The confirmed psychic. And he walks around and he goes NATO, but the doctor's managed to hide himself as one of the guards. So he's like, "You're the last of my guards. You're a good man." And then he has that war flashback. I love that scene so much. Were you there at the what was it, the Battle of the Four Capades? Ah, that was a good war, my son. And
he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, bro.
And he has those and he's like, "You'll die for the cause," and he gives him that massive explosion device. He's like, "You'll die for the cause," and then the doctor manages to put it back into his pocket, and the guy dies. And then the doctor, he does it again. He looks directly at the camera, and he's like, "Oh,
the fourth Doctor does it so much these days. He does it in the next episode as well.
Yeah.
Just looking at the camera, it's so good.
It's so perfect, and it's just like it works for the fourth Doctor because he's kind of just completely unhinged. The fourth Doctor is so sporadic.
It makes it seem like he's just actually being crazy. He's not actually doing fourth wall breaking. He's just being crazy, which is, I guess, same reason that Deadpool gets away with it. Really.
Yeah, exactly. Because in universe he's crazy, but in our universe he's saying the truth. He is a comic book. I love that. That's like, was it 16 wall breaking?
16 wall breaking. Yep.
So great. The 16th wall breaking. But anyway, this story I well and truly can recommend to people. Like, the Rebos operation is the greatest heist ever in Doctor Who. I'm sorry, Time Heist, you weren't pretty good, but this is a really good heist film. Like, it's such a good heist story, and like they proper fail. That's the best part of the heist, is they don't actually get away with it.
Yeah. Well, I guess they kind of don't.
Yeah.
They don't get the gold. Well, they do get the gold at the end, don't they?
Oh yeah, they do, because they do get away with it, because they end up stealing his ship, and it's got heaps of treasure on it from their war crimes.
Yeah, they just take a ship and everything, so it does all work out.
Oh my gosh, it actually does all work out in the end. That's so British, eh? Like, something positive happens at the end of all this agony. That's such a British storytelling trope. I love it. But yes, I can suggest a story. It is superb, and everybody gives it 100%, but they don't give it 100,000,000% like the Captain in our very next story. Harriet Skelly, take us away, the pirate planet.
All right, so continuing on with the search for the time key, the great key, whatever you want to call it, and we find ourselves, Romana and the Doctor, looking around, trying to find out where, trying to sort out their stuff, basically, and trying to get to a particular planet that they believe has the next piece they're looking for, Califrax. However, when they try to materialize the first time, basically it's the Doctor is trying to show off, trying to brag about the fact that he actually knows what he's doing. As much as we kind of not sure whether he really does or not, but at the very least, Romana doesn't believe it at all, that he knows what he's doing. And the funniest thing is that as he goes to attempt to prove her wrong about, basically space gibberish, he tries to materialize over top of something that's currently trying to materialize in the same place, which causes a bit of a problem. But of course, the Romana and K9 both just like start hammering him about apparently he's been doing it wrong. He's like, no, trust me, I know what I'm doing.
Because Romana's reading the manual, and she's like, you're not flying this thing properly. He's like, I don't read manuals. And he rips out the page that's talking about what he's doing at the moment.
Yeah.
He just rips it out. He's like, you don't need that. That's rubbish.
Yeah, that's the one thing that, like, this is one of the pieces that I'm pretty sure that they were trying to pull when it comes to, with the wife. And I'm terrible with names.
River.
Do
you know, I'm so glad you brought that up, because
Yeah.
TARDIS Wiki on this exact page just says River Song is wrong.
Yeah.
Because Romana lands it with the same noise, the Master lands it with the same noise, the monk lands it with the same noise, and the Rani does.
Yeah, it's not the. Yeah, it's not the. I'm not trying to like rat on it at the moment, but basically what I'm trying to say is they tried to pull the same element with River, but the problem that they found themselves in with that is that they didn't know what they were talking about. Where the people who wrote this one, they understand that the TARDIS is supposed to make those noises, and the only things that he's ever really been doing wrong with the TARDIS is not flying it where it should be going. And a lot of the time, that's not even his fault.
Exactly.
It's because the TARDIS takes him where he needs to go. So, the way Romana does it in this makes a lot more sense. That basically they prattle off a bunch of nonsensical terms about particular elements to the TARDIS, and that makes more sense. Well, not real sense, but it makes more sense that things that humans would have no real knowledge of, a Time Lord would, and she would know by reading the manual, and the Doctor wouldn't care because he's just been flying it on instinct this whole time.
Yeah.
So
or on purpose breaking the fluid link.
Yeah, or on purpose breaking things, basically. So, yeah, it's a much better way to sell it, honestly. But of course, this is written by Douglas Adams, so basically, if you try to back up on this one, then you're wrong. Subjectively, so because really, that's just basically how it is that Douglas Adams is the forefront of any just of sci-fi, really. He's the be all and end all when it comes to that. So if you want to try and say that it doesn't fit because he wrote it, then you're wrong. You're wrong. Anyway,
subjectively and objectively.
Yeah, subjectively, objectively, just objectively in general.
Whoscussion canon. Objectively is a word.
Yeah. So they eventually managed to finally materialize after basically just having a go at the Doctor for a little while there, and they end up on the planet. Well, they think they're on the planet anyway, thinking that they're on Califrax. Doctor's not too sure about that. Well, it seems to be he actually says that they're on a planet that's not Califrax, and it just seems to have appeared out of nowhere. Dun dun dun. But yeah, from there's a bunch of fantastical things that happen in this, and the main points that I want to bring up in regards to it is the psychic people, the Mentiads?
Yeah, I think the
Mentiads. Who they've just given them this name of Mentiads because they're psychic, but they are just, it seems to be like a natural evolution of the people who live on the planet.
Because it's like a ripple from the time vortex, right? Because they're crushing space-time.
No. It's when they destroy a planet, the planet is okay. I'm trying to describe this in an ingenious way, but not like camp way.
It's the late 70s, so I'll give it a go.
Okay. Anyone who's watched The Spirits Within, that Final Fantasy movie, it's when the planet gets destroyed, there's the spirit in the middle of it, and that gets shot out at people. And
Oh my god, is that actually what happened? Because I
That's
fully didn't
basically
understand that piece.
that's basically how that works. Yeah. So the life force of the planet, whenever they crush them and mine them, gets killed off, and because of the what's the word? The explosion of psychokinetic energy is what Romana said, basically, is what makes them, which is what attacks basically their genetic predisposition to being psychic, and basically forces them to use that ability. So it gives them power, as well as it basically takes them over every time they do it. That's why there was that like weird like chanting circle running sequence that they did. But yeah, effectively what they're trying to sell in this is that the life force of the planet gets killed and released, and that is why they get this power.
You're blowing my
So
mind.
like millions of voices cried out at once and then were silenced.
Crossing fandoms.
So yeah, it's a very interesting idea, and the reason why I brought up the spirits within is because that's the one that makes it seem real. Like, I don't know what to say, edgy, but it's kind of like that. It's kind of edgy when you say that a planet has a life force.
Real
So
topical.
yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting idea, but ultimately kind of not really scientific. But I guess just the whole idea is that whenever they killed planets, they killed a lot of people at once. So anyone who was psychic would probably feel that that some people had died, especially if they're able to read thoughts as part of their psychic abilities. It just Doctor Who has a lot of pseudoscience, guys. Just just deal with it. So yeah, it's an interesting. They're an interesting idea. That there's a race of psychics on the planet that are basically getting freaked out by the fact that they keep killing all these people. But another interesting element to this whole planet is that apparently, well, not apparently, actually, truthfully, there was very recently in their history a ruler, a queen that was kind of really evil. That they really hated. They actually really hated. And she apparently disappeared. So she was dead, and because of all the damage she'd done, like they were left behind, not able to do stuff. And then eventually they managed to well, they don't know, really build themselves back up. They eventually had a ship crash land on their planet that held their current captain, not prime minister, not king, captain.
Yes, he definitely is.
Because, as I said before, with this being written by Douglas Adams, it gets fantastic. This is real solid Doctor Who canon right here. Is this planet gets hollowed out as they mine everything out of the middle of it, and then using the technology that this captain had on his ship, they dematerialize and rematerialize the entire planet on top of other planets to mine them. So that's where the pirate planet thing comes out. But the greatest thing about it is that the captain is like an old sea dog that has also been he's also been repaired in a sort of cyborgy way. That means he looks like he's got a green eye patch on. I mean, it does kind of look like the Borg, but not that kind of bad. Just he looks more like a cyborg space captain. It's great. It's really straight out of Treasure Planet. It's great. But that's not even the best thing. That's just the part of the cake. The icing on it is that he has a killer robot parrot.
Yes, he does. It's so perfect.
It is so good, and his just entire demeanor of just yelling at people and threatening death and literally making the Doctor walk the plank.
I love
And
when
just-
the Doctor sees it and he goes, really? Almost like Tom Baker was like, really?
It's so good. It's so good. I'm so glad that we have it. Thank you. Thank you, Douglas Adams.
Thank you, Douglas. Be praised. And
Be praised.
Douglas says we pray.
May-
It's really good.
May Croton help you in your ways. Yes, it's just, yeah. And then the ending of it with when it turns out that basically the first mate lady is actually the previous queen from beforehand, that had was trying to bring herself back to life basically by creating a hologram of herself and then slowly recomporalizing that, while her other body is slowly dying, well, really slowly dying in a time field. That's really good. And then the fact that the Doctor's like, you know what, let's blow it up, and then actually just lines the place with explosives, brings down a proper TNT box and lets the Metanets blow it up.
Yeah.
And there's this big explosion. They actually blow up the miniature for it. It's
So good.
This episode is so ridiculous, but so great at the same time.
That's what's happened, and that's what happened in the Robo Submarine operation as well, because it's the marrying of the hyper-realized seriousness of the situation and the comical aspects of a sci-fi fantasy just merged together. These two stories are so complementary of each other, and they're great. It's just a pity this is followed by the Stones of Blood.
Well, let's not talk about that one just yet.
No.
But at the very least, we could say that these two episodes have been absolutely fantastic, and highly recommend that you watch them. I particularly highly recommend that you watch The Pirate Planet, because that is solid gold, especially if you like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, as it's a Douglas Adams production, written by Douglas Adams. He's a great of all time when it comes to science fiction. So if you can watch anything that watch or read anything that he's written, then you'll be on top.
Exactly. This story he actually had pretty much in the back burner while he was writing The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, apparently.
Hell yeah!
And then when he had got paid for this script, he sold off his script for The Hitchhiker's Guide, and the BBC radio picked it up. They must have been like,
"Oh right,
that's why it was great. Let's do this."
That's when the radio show came out for that. Oh
yeah.
Yes, that's great.
So BBC were like, "You just got our viewer count back up. Thanks for that. We're gonna give you a radio show.
All of this money.
All the money." So yeah, there's a lot of a lot of great stuff in this that Harriet Skelly's covered, and just Romana just having a one up on the Doctor the whole time, because she's so much because she's a way better student than he was. So she's really intelligent. I love how she makes fun of how old he is.
Yeah, that's so ridiculous.
Super old.
She's
I'm only 120, and he's like, really?
Is she 120?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Was that what she said? She did say that. Yeah.
She's 120 something years old. I can't remember the
And
exact
he's
number, but it's 120.
And he's 400 and something, which is so funny. Really, the Doctor's not even middle aged at this point. He's only in his fourth incarnation, and you're saying that he's old. What?
She's like, oh, you're real old. But yeah, so the Doctor, they talk about a lot of stuff. It's real good. There's because apparently the Doctor's essentially become the cool guy to talk about on campus at the academy, because she knows a lot about him, and she's like, oh yeah, apparently you've done this and that, and he's like, oh well, you shouldn't believe everything you hear. And he's just like, I'm so awesome. But yeah, I reckon definitely the Renegades would definitely be talked about, and there'll be the cool goth Time Lords that talk about the Master all the time. Yeah,
I don't think so. Yeah, probably not actually. If they're thinking goth, they'll probably think who was it? Probably more the Rani level.
Maybe
honestly.
the Rani.
I bet you that the Rani was a goth as well, and in the academy that was like her deal. Was that she like had the black hair and the and she was wearing a cross for no reason as well. Yeah, that's it. Yep,
like,
that's the Rani.
I just really identify with Soul 3 religion. I just think it really identifies with me as a time lady. You haven't even passed your exams yet.
Yep.
I just feel that I'm already a time lady.
She totally was. I bet you anything you like that the Rani also managed to like pass her exams before they'd even had them.
That doesn't surprise me.
But she's still in the academy because they're not allowed to leave until after they've reached a certain age.
They actually probably properly reach like graduation age. That's so perfect. But yes, with the Pirate Planet and the Rubber Separation, definitely pick these up. I think they're available on the Netflix Classic Who as well.
Nice.
Give this a go. This Key to Time arc can be picked up for like $15 American the whole season. So like definitely pick that up if you can. And we will be moving on to part B. Catch you all then.
Yes.